On my birthday, my wife thought it would be hilarious to hand me a box with fake divorce papers in front of everyone. They all laughed. But 2 days later, she was the one crying when the real papers from my lawyer arrived. It was supposed to be my birthday. Just one day out of the year where I could relax, celebrate with my wife, my kids, and a few friends, without drama or chaos. My wife, Claire, had organized the whole thing. She was always the one who liked to take control of events, planning, decorating, and making sure things were fun. I didn't argue, because truthfully, I was just grateful she had taken the time to organize it. The house was full of laughter, music, and the kind of background chatter you only get when people know each other well enough to let their guard down. I remember standing by the kitchen counter, sipping my drink, and watching everyone gather around the cake. Claire came toward me with a mischievous smile, holding a medium-sized gift box wrapped in silver paper. "This is from me," she said, and everyone in the room leaned closer, waiting. She had that playful glint in her eyes, the kind I'd seen 100 times when she was about to pull a prank. I smiled nervously, not wanting to ruin the moment. "What did you do?" I asked. "Just open it," she giggled, glancing at the guests like she was in on some inside joke. So, I opened the box. Inside was a stack of papers neatly tied with a red ribbon. I pulled them out slowly, already feeling the unease building in my chest. "Divorce papers," someone whispered before bursting out laughing. The whole room erupted in laughter. My wife threw her head back, tears of laughter streaming down her cheeks. "Got you," she said between giggles. "Come on, you should have seen your face." I forced a smile. Everyone was laughing. Everyone but me. It wasn't the first time she'd made me the punchline of a joke, but it was the first time she'd done it so cruelly, in front of everyone we knew, on a day that was supposed to be about me. I remember staring down at the fake divorce papers in my hands, the room spinning slightly as the laughter continued around me. I set the papers down on the table, leaned forward, and blew out the single candle on my cake without saying a word. The laughter died down awkwardly, and someone tried to change the subject. Claire patted my shoulder and whispered, "Oh, don't pout. It was just a joke. You're too sensitive sometimes." But inside, something broke. For years, I had brushed off her jokes, the little digs she made at my expense, the pranks that always left me humiliated. I told myself it was harmless, that she was just playful. But that night, something inside me shifted. I didn't yell. I didn't make a scene. I smiled, cut myself a slice of cake, and quietly enjoyed it while everyone else partied. 2 days later, Claire got an envelope from my lawyer. It wasn't a prank. Claire didn't even wait until I got home from work to open the envelope. I know because when I pulled into the driveway that Tuesday evening, I could see her pacing by the window, the letter already crumpled in her fist. The blinds shifted the moment I parked, and by the time I stepped through the door, she was standing there, red-faced and trembling, like she had swallowed fire. "What the hell is this?" she spat, shoving the papers into my chest. I took them back calmly, smoothed out the creases, and placed them on the table. "That," I said evenly, "is a notice of intent to file for divorce. From my lawyer." Her mouth fell open. For a moment, I saw something flicker across her face. Fear, maybe, or disbelief. Then came the anger. "Are you insane? Over a joke? A birthday prank? You're seriously doing this because I teased you?" I sat down, unbuttoned my jacket, and exhaled slowly. "No, Claire. I'm doing this because it wasn't just a prank. It's been years of them. Years of being humiliated, belittled, turned into a punchline. I finally realized the joke has always been on me, and I'm not laughing anymore." She laughed bitterly. "Oh, come on. Don't act like you've been some kind of saint. You think you're perfect." "No," I said, "but I know I've never treated you like entertainment for a crowd. Especially not on your birthday." She froze, lips parting like she wanted to argue but had no words. For the first time in a long while, I saw the silence hit her. The next few days were strange. At first, she assumed I was bluffing. She'd call me dramatic and tell me to sleep it off. Then came the guilt trips, texts about how I was tearing our family apart, about how everyone who was at the party knew it was just a joke, and how I was embarrassing her by taking it seriously. But behind the bravado, I could sense her panic. She started cooking more often, leaving sticky notes on the fridge with little hearts, even slipping into bed with forced sweetness at night. I didn't fight her. I didn't yell. I simply remained polite and distant, as if I were already halfway gone. What she didn't know was that I'd already met with my lawyer months ago, long before the birthday incident. That prank was just the final push. I had gathered bank statements, copies of joint accounts, even photo evidence of her nights out with friends where I was the butt of every joke. A marriage counselor we had seen once had kept notes, and I had requested them. My lawyer said it painted a clear picture of emotional neglect, bordering on cruelty. I wasn't interested in revenge. I was interested in freedom. One night, about a week after she got the envelope, Claire broke down crying in the kitchen. "You're really going through with this," she said, tears smudging her mascara. "Yes," I said quietly. "But what about us? About everything we built? You're just going to throw it all away because I like to joke around." I looked at her then, not the woman I'd married, but the woman she'd become. Someone who couldn't tell the difference between humor and humiliation. Someone who confused cruelty for cleverness. "You threw it away," I replied. "You just didn't notice until now." The silence was heavy, and for the first time, she didn't have a comeback. Update 1 after the envelope incident. Claire shifted into damage control mode. At first, she didn't beg. Begging wasn't her style. She was too proud, too used to being the center of attention, the one who set the tone. Instead, she tried to rewrite the story. I started hearing from mutual friends within days. "Hey, man, Claire told me you're having a rough patch. Don't do anything rash." Or, "She said you misunderstood her joke, that you're taking it too far. And, of course, she really loves you. She just has a quirky sense of humor." Quirky. That word stuck in my teeth like a shard of glass. Quirky was pulling a prank once in a while, not building a whole personality out of humiliating your spouse. I didn't argue with anyone. I didn't defend myself. I just said, "I appreciate your concern. It's between me and her." Because what they didn't know, and what she didn't want them to know, was that this wasn't about one joke. This was about patterns. I had the receipts. Literal ones. Bank statements showing her habit of maxing out our joint credit card on joke gifts. Gag items she'd buy online just to humiliate me with later at parties. Photos people had tagged her in, showing me as the butt of her entertainment while she soaked up attention. I kept journals too, not originally for evidence, but because I needed to process the constant digs. Dates, events, word-for-word lines like, "Don't be mad, it's just a prank. You're too sensitive." Claire, meanwhile, doubled down in the weirdest way. One night, she came into the living room holding my favorite shirt, the one she always teased me about, saying it made me look like a dad at a PTA meeting. She smiled, soft and trembling, and said, "You know, I actually love this shirt. You look handsome in it." It should have meant something, but it didn't. It just felt like watching a magician after you've already seen all their tricks. I knew she wasn't complimenting me. She was bargaining. My lawyer advised me to stay calm, document everything, and keep moving forward. "She'll likely try to sway public opinion," he warned. "Stay factual. Don't engage emotionally. Let her expose herself." And that's exactly what happened. The more distant I became, the louder Claire got. She started posting vague quotes on social media. Stuff like, "Some men can't handle a strong, funny woman," or, "If he can't laugh with you, he's not for you." Her friends piled on with supportive comments. But then, cracks started to form. People who'd been at the party began privately messaging me. "Hey, honestly, that was rough to watch. I get why you're upset." Or, "She went too far. That wasn't funny, it was cruel." I didn't respond with rants or pleas. Just a simple, "Thanks. I'm working through it." Meanwhile, Claire's anger started seeping through the cracks of her strong woman persona. One evening, when she thought I was asleep, I overheard her on the phone with her sister. "He's serious. He's really leaving me. I thought he'd just sulk, like he always does. But he's cold. It's like I don't even exist to him anymore." Her sister must have said something sympathetic, because then Claire's voice broke. "If he goes through with this, I'll be a joke. The girl who thought she was funny, and he turned it back on me." That was the moment I knew she finally understood. It wasn't about sensitivity. It wasn't about whether I could take a joke. It was about respect, and once that's gone, no amount of tears or spin can bring it back. I didn't stop the process. I kept my lawyer updated, signed documents, and prepared for the next phase. Claire, for the first time, was no longer writing the script. I was. Final update. The divorce went through faster than either of us expected. My lawyer told me early on that cases like ours often drag. Someone contests, someone stalls, but Claire didn't. She fought at first, but once she realized how much I had documented, how prepared I was, she folded. In mediation, her mask cracked in ways I'd never seen before. She tried sarcasm at first, the same weapon she'd always used. Oh, maybe he'll write a diary about this too. He loves his journals. But when my lawyer calmly slid a binder across the table with time-stamped entries, screenshots, receipts, and counselor notes, her tone changed. She looked smaller, deflated, like she hadn't expected me to have teeth. We split assets fairly. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to ruin her. I wanted out with dignity and the ability to rebuild my life. I kept the house. She didn't fight it. Maybe because even she couldn't stand the thought of staying in the place where she'd turned me into a spectacle. When the paperwork was signed, I expected to feel euphoric. Instead, I just felt empty. Not in a hopeless way, but in that quiet, stunned way you feel after leaving a noisy room and stepping into silence. For the first time in years, there was no background hum of mockery, no bracing myself for the next joke. Just quiet. Claire, though, didn't handle it quietly. Word got around, because of course it did. People asked why we split. She tried spinning it. He couldn't handle my humor, or he's too sensitive, always was. But that narrative didn't hold, not after people remembered the birthday stunt. I didn't have to defend myself. Her own actions had written the story for me. She stopped posting as much online. Her friends who'd clapped at her jokes before didn't seem to laugh anymore. Some even pulled away, realizing they'd been complicit in her cruelty. I heard through the grapevine that she started seeing a therapist. A small part of me hoped it was true, not because I wanted her back, but because I didn't want her to wreck someone else the way she had wrecked me. A few weeks after the divorce was finalized, she showed up at the house. She looked thinner, exhausted, like life had finally caught up to her. She stood on the porch, holding an envelope. "I wrote you a letter," she said softly. "I know you don't want to hear me talk, so—" I didn't open it in front of her. I just nodded, took it, and wished her well. That night, I read it. It was messy, part apology, part justification, part nostalgia. She admitted that she'd taken me for granted, that the jokes were a way to get attention when she felt invisible. She said she didn't realize how deeply it cut me until it was too late. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. Instead, I focused on myself. I reconnected with old friends, started running again, even took a short trip alone. It felt strange, liberating, terrifying. I realized how much of myself I'd lost while living as the butt of someone else's entertainment. Slowly, I began to rebuild. The truth is, leaving wasn't about punishment. It was about reclaiming my own dignity. And while it wasn't easy, it was worth it. Do I still think about that night? Yes. Sometimes I hear the laughter in my head, see the look on her face when she handed me those fake papers. But the difference now is, when I remember it, I don't feel small anymore. I feel grateful. Because that was the night the joke finally ended, and my life truly began again. Claire once told me I was too sensitive. But sensitivity isn't weakness. It's awareness. And once I stopped letting her rewrite my reality, I realized the strongest thing I could do was walk away.